Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome to the post-show live chat where we're going to be talking about everything that just went down with week 2 of The Bachelor, aka Queen Victoria's reign. Because, oh man, how long has this stream been going for? 3 minutes? I'm already exhausted. Oh boy. Okay, so welcome. Welcome to the live chat. For those of you who might be watching this after the fact, who are tuning in after it's been streamed, which is the hour after the East Coast airing of The Bachelor, we're going to be just chatting and answering questions and talking about the show. And if you're looking for the recap or preview breakdown, it's going to be on its way. But for now, there are only a few rules before we get into talking. Number 1, please, sleuthing spoilers only in the chat. That's any kind of, anything that's been sleuthed out is totally welcome. Posts from official sources like Chris Harrison or producers or official accounts, all welcome. As well, I'm going to be doing my best to answer as many questions as I can in the chat. Of course, super chats will always get priority. And last but not least, be kind to each other. If there's anything we've learned tonight, be kind to each other. Let's make this a zone of positivity. No toxic, nothing in here, please. For my sake, I need it. After that episode. And Asia, thank you so much for the super chat. I feel sorry for Marilyn. She didn't deserve what Victoria said about her. Angry face emoji. Agreed. I know. What's going on here? Like, I mean, I get that, Matt maybe is not interested or what. I mean, he did give her the flower, like, after not inviting her on any date. But how are you looking at these two women and, having a hard time figuring out who to believe? I mean, like, I get that the behind the scenes stuff can be confusing, and there's a lot going on, and sometimes in this show people can be really fake in front of other people and then really nice in front of you. I don't know. I'm kind of feeling like Victoria gives off the same vibe wherever she goes, It's not like she's hiding who she is in front of Matt. So I mean, I don't know. So yeah, Victoria, boo. That's my general feeling. So we'll see. We'll see how things go in the rose ceremony. But if you're looking for info on who's gonna stay and who's gonna go, I can tell you that the previews definitely suggest that Victoria stays. And look, I mean, maybe I've missed it, but it doesn't look like Marilyn staying. So, yikes. Oh yeah, producers have their hands all over this. I guess, like if you're the Bachelor, you do have to play ball a little bit with producers. I mean, I guess a little in defense of Matt segment. Everyone has to do it. Every lead has to do it. Tayshia had to do it. But yikes. There's a point where you gotta draw the line. I would hope I would have the wherewithal and forethought to think maybe this won't look good for me if I keep her around. And Bella, thank you for the super chat. Why is Matt kissing everyone with his eyes open? I know. Well, I'll highlight that. I think I heard someone say also he did that with Abigail too. I'll look back at that. We'll definitely be touching that in the recap. I know, kind of jarring to watch. But hey, but there are photos here in the slideshow with Sarah where the eyes are I guess, kind of closed. So it's not every time. But, wow. Man, and continuing on the Victoria note, we have at least one more episode of Victoria, possibly two, but there is enough there's enough footage and enough reasoning to believe she could go home not at this next rose ceremony but the one after. It's not out of the question. And Trevor, thank you so much for the super chat. I don't trust anyone who says toxic often. Yeah, I don't trust anyone who literally says literally all the time. Literally. No, it's a general toxic vibe. And Alicia, thank you so much for the super chat. Did you hear the gossip about Rachel? Yeah, I did hear the gossip about Rachel, about the way she talked, like she bullied a guy in high school. This is, again, gossip. So, I mean, I haven't heard the full rundown on it, but what I'd heard, and again, this is, gossip and all that, so take it as it is, but she bullied someone in high school for dating a black guy, and she, I think there were a couple of questionable likes on her Instagram as well. So got oh man, that's rough. Like on this season, if that kind of stuff is in your past, that should be vetted out. It should be not even put on the show. You shouldn't if that kind of situation is going to occur. We've seen it time and time again where people, huge fanatics of the show, and that comes with an intense amount of sleuthing and people who know someone. We saw it last season with the woman who had the allegations against Easy. Every season, there's someone who, I know this person, or this person, is on my TV after, they bullied me in high school, or whatever. We see it time and time again, and yet, here they are. Sunshine, thank you so much for the super chat. Can we talk about the weird quality of the wedding photos? And there's no way Matt believes Victoria genuinely. I know. There's, it's a fine line between producer pick and reality sometimes, but this one seems like a huge line, right? Sometimes you see a villain and you go, oh, there's kind of reasonable doubt as to why they are, as to why the Bachelor or Bachelorette is keeping them around. The Bachelor or Bachelorette's being led on, or they're acting a different way in front of other people. But, I don't know, this whole Victoria versus Marilyn thing seems rough to consider the idea that Victoria might be staying next rose ceremony and Marilyn's going. Even if he doesn't like Marilyn, it's just a bad look. And Abigail, thank you so much for the super chat. Is there evidence to suggest Victoria and Mary stay? There is absolutely evidence to suggest Victoria stays. As for Mary, I'm not 100, or I don't know if you're talking about Mary. Is that I spend all day sometimes looking at Bachelor stuff. I still need a cheat sheet for people's names. I'm guessing I'm gonna look up the cast list, but I'm guessing you might be talking about Marilyn. And off the top of my head, I can't I can't say for sure if Marilyn stays. Now, I only also say if you're talking about Mary, because there is someone named Mari on the show. But absolutely, Victoria stays another episode. At least another rose ceremony. For sure. There is footage of her still to come. Marilyn, not so sure. Can't say with 100% certainty, but I will dive into that question for the preview breakdown. Absolutely, I'll have a confirmation for that. And Benny, thank you for the super chat. Victoria is probably the most petty contestant to be on The Bachelor, and that's saying something. Also, very scared for Sarah. She's so pure. Yeah, Sarah. We've seen. I think, and again, I'll go through this. We've seen most of Sarah's footage now, like one-on-one date footage. I think, unless there's one more date that could be Sarah, but I think it's actually Kit. Rose ceremony canceled. Is that what people are saying? That could be another reason. That could be a reason why both stay. That could be it. Though we have seen the person who like faints or has to leave for a moment, and then they come back and and they continue on. It's possible that happens. But if they have a rose ceremony that gets canceled, and we continue on with another week, same amount of women, then we add more women. There's at least like 4 that we've seen get added to the show later on. When is the season gonna end? We're gonna be airing the finale of The Bachelorette by the time the season ends. Like, but yeah, it could be they could do the cancel rose ceremony, have extra eliminations. So, but yeah, as per what Benny said, Sarah, I just there were shots of some of the ones I'm thinking about from this episode, the airplane, them on their date with her in the blue dress, the shot of them in the hot tub, and there's one in the preview where Sarah's coming out of the hot tub in her bikini at night. Those are some of the shots that happened this episode, and off the top of my head, I can't say for sure that there's more one-on-one footage of Sarah. There could be, and they could show us more, but the rest of the footage that we haven't seen yet of Sarah seems to be just her crying, and in the sweater that we talked about in the preview breakdown. There's like a couple of shots with her in a sweater with like a zigzag pattern in the middle, or like top part of her sweater. So it's stuff like that, like that makes you go, okay, I'm not going to put Sarah in my top 4, right? Like when you look at the preview footage and you've got one shot, maybe, of her on a one-on-one date, but the, then a whole bunch of crying at the end, and that's most of her footage. So I'm worried. And Coding Jesus, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for supporting the channel. How does he remember their names when he calls them during the rose ceremony? I can't remember a third of their names. By the way, production wants Victoria on. Absolutely. Yeah. Producer pick, 1,000%. Happens every season. The person you're like, how on earth do they stay? And they stay a few weeks. The good news is there's an end date to Victoria's reign. It's 3 or 4 episodes generally, and then after that you start banging your head and wondering what the heck Matt is doing, because at that point typically the producers are not begging you to keep them around. But there used to be a time, as per remembering people's names, where they had all the pictures lined up, and there was this room that the Bachelor would go into, and it'd just be like covered in photos of all the contestants, and then there'd always be shots of him staring at them and like looking like he's really thinking about who's gonna pick. I imagine at this point it's part of the deal. Like, you got to remember these people's names. You got to sit down, and memorize them. And Coding Jesus again, thank you for the super chat. 24 plus women are giving themselves to one man as they know that he's sleeping with all of them. Just goes to show women will. Okay. Thank you for the support in the channel. Moving on from that one. And Bella, thank you for the super chat. Ari, Sarah, people have gotten to top 4 with only one date before, right? It feels like it's happened before. Example, Luke P. and Ben. It can happen. It can happen. You can go into, I think, did it happen with Peter too? Where he had one-on-one, and then he was on the multiple group date at the end with, and it was like Luke. It was him, Luke, and Garrett. I can't remember if he got 2 or not, but it definitely happens. But usually, if someone has if someone has a really early one-on-one and they are a top pick, they typically will get a one of those one-on-one dates, like pre-hometowns, right? They usually have 2 or 3 one-on-one dates pre-hometowns and then a multiple group date. Like they had, on a typical season. We didn't see it with the Bachelorette. And usually one of the one-on-ones goes home. Like with Hannah Brown's season, it was Jed, Tyler C, and Mike Johnson who got one-on-ones, and then there was a group date with Garrett and Luke P and Peter, and Mike went home on the one-on-one before hometowns. Tyler and Jed got roses, and then Luke and Peter got roses. And but it is possible. It is possible. I'm just like, at the end of the day, I'm comparing Sarah and her sort of footage and storyline that they seem to be projecting to women like Brie, or women like Michelle, who's we haven't seen yet but still to come, and women like Serena. And Abigail, again, thank you for the super chat. Matt could have asked any of the girls or all of them about the situation in the house between Victoria and Marilyn. It's weird he didn't. Yeah, it's so tough to like understand what is going on behind the scenes. How much have we seen or not seen? The fact that it's even possible and arguably suggested by the preview that he might pick Victoria over Marilyn unless there's like a canceled rose ceremony or something, it is very suspect. But, who knows? Maybe, But at the end of the day, you're right. He should be trusting the judgment of other people, and it's a shame for Marilyn that she's getting pulled into this, right? But wouldn't be a season of The Bachelor without it. And Transmutation Knits, thank you for the super chat. Victoria's sweater in the preview ITMs was the same as her sweater on the house scenes this week. That's one thing that is possible is the same ITMs can be used for different points in the season, especially when they're flipped in a really weird time order. For example, what I'm getting to is they used the shot from Tayshia's date with Ivan, her first date with Ivan from the Bachelorette season, where she said she says something like it's really hard, and she's crying, because they talked about they had a huge conversation. They talked about like Black Lives Matter and all that, and she was in tears, and they used that all over the previews, and they used that later on in the season, sometime near the end when we'd already seen the date. We'd seen that footage before, and they reused it again later on. Like something like with after her, final date with Zach, or like her fantasy suite date or something like that, they used it. So it is possible. We do know that Victoria makes it to the next day and has a conversation with all of them on the couch. There's another Victoria outfit where she's again in her tiara, and she's got like a poofy blue outfit, or like, I don't know, shawl thing on. So we know for sure that she makes it past the next rose ceremony. And Jenny, thank you for the super chat. I know that this isn't about tonight's episode, but who do you think has a shot to be the next Bachelorette? That is a great question. I think it's going to come down to someone in the... It always seems to be most likely someone in the top 4. Maybe they'll... Here's okay, I'm going to throw this one. I'm formulating a theory in my mind right now, because one thing I've thought about in these last 2 episodes, and looking at the previews, the complete absence of Abigail. Okay? She's not in the previews, and yet she's in both of these episodes. Okay? And I've been wondering what the angle is on her edit, because Abigail got something in this episode that usually is very good for someone's edit and their chances of going further, even though she hasn't been in the previews at all. And that is, she got a little check-in. We saw it with a couple of people, even though they weren't on one-on-ones or really involved in the storyline of the episode, they weren't involved in the drama of the episode. Abigail got a check-in. And that usually happens when you go far in the show. So my conspiracy theory, the thing that I just formulated based off of that super chat, what if Abigail doesn't go far, but she's getting a good edit because they're thinking about her for Bachelorette? So that's the thought I just had. And John, thank you for the super chat. Just showed up. General thoughts on tonight's episode. Exhausting Victoria. In 2 words. It was a huge drama episode. And it was dominated by Victoria. And after an exhausting week before us, it was another exhausting episode ahead of us. So, all right, catching up on some of these super chats here. Sorry, I was just catching up on this There's someone who's coding Jesus. You were muted. You're muted for, I think you know why. So you were timed out also. Thank you for the super chat. If you want to, if you're upset about it, you're welcome to talk to YouTube and refund it. Go for it. And Kaleidosaurus, thank you for the super chat. Tinfoil Hat, Bachelor producers have started watching your channel and are being more careful with the previews, and Abigail is actually final one. All right. Here, you know what? I love that theory, and here's why. Because one, it gives way too much credit to me, so I love it. But two, if there's no negative outcome for that with me, right? Like, if Abigail is the final one and they just have completely excluded her from previews, then, you know, sure, I can be wrong and like really wrong, but for next season, I'll know that they did this. So we can start to try and navigate something new. But the reason it's hard to imagine that happening is because the vast, vast, vast majority of people just tune in week to week. And it's not about, maneuvering people who are trying to sleuth out who wins, from previews. It's just about bringing people back week after week, getting them to watch and to invest in people. And one of the best ways to do that is to insert their faces, insert the one-on-one dates and the romance. And if someone's a final pick and they're on a whole bunch of dates and all sorts of stuff, it's too much footage to leave out. And you never want people not recognizing faces. But it is interesting. It's possible that because the promos are so drama-filled, if Abigail goes far, they don't want her edit being involved in the negativity. But I would say that they've still managed to put tons of preview footage in where it's romance and it's positive. Like, look at Michelle and look at Serena, and Brie. Totally drama-free. Like, they have small bits of, crying shots and stuff like that, like everyone does on the show. But there still is romance. And it typically comes down to, if you notice, look at at least in the last, 5 years, every season preview pretty much falls into 3 categories. Like, if you're looking at a 3-minute or 2-minute preview, the first third is romance and excitement, and so you'll see a little bit of kissing and them jumping out of a plane, them bungee jumping, whatever, all that exciting stuff, the fancy cars and adrenaline rushing moments. And then that gong sound hits, that's from like that Hans Zimmer, it's from Inception, wah, and they go into the drama, and there's a whole bunch of drama, and then the last bit of the preview is either more drama or they go back to romance, and it's super serious. And they'll end on, Matt heading for his final rose ceremony. So they can fit in the romance and the drama, no matter how much drama's in a season. They did it with Peter, too. So, and Danielle, thank you for the super chat. Maybe it's just me, but the editing on this episode was sloppy. They completely skipped over the individual dates on the second half of the group date. Yeah, it's because they were focusing on the Victoria show. And in a way, it does a couple of things. It, like, I don't know, by the end of it, I was like screaming a little bit, you know? And I guess the hope is that they hook you in by your need to see, like, Victoria go. And that can be effective sometimes. It just gets exhausting after a while. So that's fine for a little bit, but I hope that's not the focus of too many more seasons, because, you know, think about this in comparison to Tasha and Claire season. You know, we hit our max with the Claire Dale drama, you know, and the guys, you know, protesting and unionizing against them, and the Yosef thing lasted for like an episode. But any more than that, it starts to get like Peter's season. So all right, can we just stop the politics stuff, please? Like, let's have a timeout on that. You know, we get enough of that in the week. We're here to talk about if you know, politicians were to come on the show, we can talk all we want about it, and we can talk about politics in, you know, a nicer way than just spamming too. Like, no spam politics, please. Like, this is not a free zone of that kind of stuff, but, you know, let's be nuanced about it, you know? And Heather, thank you for the super chat. And moving on, how cute was the signal Matt and Abigail came up with? I have to remember to keep an eye on it in future episodes. Has anyone done that before? So yeah, absolutely adorable. And again, that was that little check-in. That's a great thing usually for someone on the show, because Abigail was not involved in this episode, but that was a little date where they, you know, they had a check-in with each other. So that's a great sign. I mean, and again, to talk about people's edits, like last episode, Abigail was so present, but she could also have been present just because she got the first impression rose. This time, there was no reason for her to be involved in the episode at all, unless they want her to remember us. So, interesting thing there, even though she's not in the previews. Has anyone else done that before? Definitely, one thing that comes to mind is there was a signal that, like, this was outside of the show, that Caitlin Bristow gave to Nick while she was on, like, Jimmy Kimmel or something like that. So that it kind of has happened. So, and Bella, thank you for the super chat. Why are they starting each episode with these random scenes? Yeah, I noticed that too. It's confusing. It doesn't flow well. They're starting with little intros for the episode, and it is kind of strange. I mean, it can be effective, but ma'am, these ones have been a little bit jarring, and they're just like little snippet moments. They're not like something huge to hook you in to. I mean, I guess Sarah fainting is a big thing, but, like, did that need to happen this episode? I don't know. But hey, I guess they're trying something new. So maybe they're trying to hook people into longer on the episode. Maybe their focus panels were telling them to do that. So maybe that's what it is. But if it comes around again, you know, don't be surprised. And Misha, thank you for the super chat. After the season, no more Victoria's casted. Yes. It could have been a situation where someone walked in with a tiara and said they were a literal queen and insisted on it, and they just were like, okay, we gotta put her in. But I agree. I agree. And Sad Sauce, thank you for the super chat. What do you think about Kit? She's quite young. Yeah, she's very young. We can do the typical, being young doesn't always mean being immature or not ready for love, but she's 21. And she's like, after the first episode, she, her little, like, I'm the president, I'm the CEO thing. I don't think she's going to be, don't expect to see a hometown. There's potentially one-on-one. Potentially. And she's going to be around for a little bit. She's definitely there for when Heather shows up. Never been kissed, Heather. Been kissed once now, Heather. From Colton season. So we know she lasts that long, at least. And she lasts long enough to be there for when the new women show up. So she's not going away immediately, but I don't see her... I don't see her cracking the top 6. I'd have a hard time seeing that. So... And Megan, thank you for the super chat, the big super chat, for supporting the stream and the channel. Really, really appreciate it. This is just a thank you super chat for all your awesome content. You've saved me a lot of time and dollars on a cable subscription since Redacted season. I look forward to your videos every week. Thank you so much for the positive message, the non-toxic energy coming in, which we need after this episode, this last week. So, thank you. I really, really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate it. Means a lot. Thank you. And Abigail as well. Again, thank you. Really appreciate it. Keep in touch. Needs to meet. Always be can. Yeah. Oh man. Oh, keep in touch. With the tweet I saw, not my tweet, but that I just saw was keep Kit and Bennett. I don't know, something about those their faces, their cast photos together, kind of seemed like really seemed to work. I don't know if it would be an actual thing, but maybe it's the socialite and the Harvard grad. Maybe that's it. And I'm not Nicole. Thank you for the super chat. Just because, appreciate you. Also, gestures. Yeah. Gestures is already marked down. It's ready for the recap. This Finasco is getting out of hand. Yeah, this. And another one I forgot from last week, the Lingerie. The woman who showed up in her lingerie. Thank you, I am not Nicole. Really appreciate it for always being a part of the chat, always being here, talking about the show, commenting. Really, really appreciate it. Doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you for the super chat. What if Tom Brady was on The Bachelor? He probably would have kept Goat Lady. He would have appreciated Goat Lady a lot more. So that's what would happen. So justice for Goatfoot Lady. If only Tom was on. Would you have kept Goat Lady if you were The Bachelor? Absolutely. Absolutely. Goat Lady, final pick. But you know what? I would appreciate the goat stuff. I'd appreciate it. Over, like, there are some gimmicks that, like, you go, ugh. And there are some gimmicks that you go, okay. And you hope that, like, once you get in there, they're like, JK, I'm not really crazy. Or JK, I'm not really pretentious or a snob or, a queen. I don't know. Goat Lady seemed kind of... She seemed like, oh, this was just a little fun thing, and then that was it. She didn't seem insane. Better question, literally, who is Anna? Yeah, she's the one who, in the first episode, she's like the combination between Kaylin and Hannah Brown, and she was like, I love coffee or whatever. Final Four prediction? I'm not changing my Final Four prediction, though. I still think Michelle, who hasn't come on the show yet, Bree, Serena P, and Rachel. Because again, Rachel got another check-in this episode too. Rachel's gotten a couple of check-ins this episode. So it's a math game, like, how many people are getting those kind of edits and have been seen in footage later on, But we'll see once the new women show up, if anything changes. That's going to be the big... If edits start swapping around, it's going to be like, whoo, all right. And Katie, thank you for the super chat. Here's a super chat because your constant goat comments are literally making me laugh. Let's cry while I'm listening to this. Well, someone needs to talk about Goat Lady, okay? We've got to keep that goat... We got to keep that goatin' all the way to paradise, all right? Oh, gosh. Okay. Moving on. But thank you so much, Katie, for the super chat, for also being a part of the channel and commenting all the time. Really appreciate it. Happy to see you here and chatting. And Andrea, you are a producer on a season. Which one would you do? Man, that is a great question. Like, well, on one hand, first of all, thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. On one side of things, Tayshia's was pretty low key, so there's that. Coming up with group dates that you have to do on a resort, you're not exactly stretching the imagination. But the reality is, I'd probably do something on Paradise. If I had to produce a season, Paradise is where I'd go. See, like, that would be the most fun for me, and I don't know. I like Paradise. It's a little bit more laid back, not just in the way Paradise is on a beach and stuff, but on also how they edit and showcase the show. So it doesn't take itself as much seriously. So I'd probably want to do something like that. And Sarah, thank you for the super chat. Do you think we will have to go through 2 more weeks of Victoria? I need to know how much alcohol I need to buy. I think we're looking at least 2 weeks. We're going to see her survive next rose ceremony. There's just more footage. There's definitely one more rose ceremony that she's at beyond this one. And there's footage of her in like this sort of bluish shawl thing with her tiara that's still to come. And there's a shot of her in the previews where she's like sitting by a fountain crying, and she's like, I need to see Matt. So look forward to that. So at least at the end of the day, though, I can't see more than 2 or 3 more episodes. I just can't see it. And I don't think there's enough footage to support her lasting longer. It looks like... So there's a thing also where in the previews they were talking about Victoria. She says something along the lines of, I'm so glad he's seen how fake she is. And they were cutting to Sarah. It could be that some of the women, and especially Victoria, lead a kind of, attack against Sarah because of her fainting at the rose ceremony. Maybe they think she's doing it on purpose for attention. I don't know. Maybe that's it. If that is it, then it means that we're looking at even less time for Victoria, because some of the storylines they're presenting in the previews are already set in motion. So we just have to ride out the storm. Do you feel like Rachel got way more ITM footage than like anyone else this episode? Ooh, yeah. No, Rachel gets more footage than most of the women. Not all the women, but enough that it's noticeable. Especially when you sit down and you recap the episodes and you stare at that footage for hours after it's aired. So you do notice these things. Little check-ins. This episode, it's especially important, as I've said before, when they're not a focal point in the episode, meaning they don't have a one-on-one and they aren't a part of any major drama. The reason they give them that extra footage is because they want you to remember them. So, could be really good for her, or there could be some super devastating thing that happens, but usually they go far. And Latrice, thank you so much for the super chat. I like how the women checked Victoria for running back to Matt like that. I want Victoria gone. I think most everyone is ready for Victoria to be gone. Like, man, it did not take long. Sometimes these villain edits are a little more subtle. Like, it's a slow build up. Like, you don't hate them right away. You don't hate them episode 1 or 2. This was a hit the ground running villain edit. Like, it feels like she came in knowing, you know what? I'm going straight villain. Straight villain. And never looked back. So, and Victoria, like, she has her place. She, she plays the villain role, but when it's being played so strongly, you can only take so much. That's my opinion on it. It's just, you can only take a couple episodes. But, it wouldn't be a season of The Bachelor, right? It's not entertaining drama. It's way too annoying and overpowering. Yeah. And the way so we always see drama like this, and it helps. It usually fills in the middle part of the show when, we've got the introductions, already laid out at the beginning. And then there's the sort of middle area where, maybe there are some more romances happening, but, it's that part in between introducing everybody and getting excited about everybody, and then the end when it gets to, like, final 6, final 10, and things are getting, like, a little more serious. Right in that middle time, it has its place. Like with Chasen and Ed, the schmedium shirt and chicken legs. But unless drama is supporting the romance, this is my take. then we can only take so much of it. Like, Victoria, like, we all deep down know and pray, but we know Matt's not going to end up with Victoria. Right? As Bennett once said, 0% chance. So, there's nothing at stake here. Right? Victoria's not going to come in and take Matt away from someone we're actually rooting for, right? Except Marilyn, but Marilyn, has kind of come out of nowhere, and it's so early. It's not like we're, in the top 6 or something, and people that we think have really good connections with Matt are getting it ruined because Victoria's still here. That doesn't support the romance, is what I'm saying. So, yeah, poor Marilyn. And again, like, it's they I guess maybe what they did try to dangle in that orchid thing, the flower beforehand. So I'll give them that. But otherwise, and speaking of the orchid, can you comment on the orchid? Didn't that seem like it was just on the shelf already at the chateau? I'm guessing here. My take was that Matt didn't bring her on the any dates, but he did want her to not feel bad about that. So he did think of the orchid. And you could say that maybe the producers were like, hey, you should do this for her. Maybe he thought about it ahead of time. Either way, it was a good gesture. And, I have no problem with that. I don't necessarily think it was like he was thinking about her all day and wanted to do that. But I do think it was a gesture to say, I don't want you to feel bad. I want you to feel good. I want us to have a good conversation. I don't want you to be focused on the non-date. So I don't think it was too bad. Even though, if he said, can you get an orchid, and they found some just random one nearby and was thrown together. But, alright, we are going to come now to the last few minutes of the stream. If you've got any questions, throw them in now. And then I'm heading off to bed. And we're going into another week of recaps and preview breakdowns. We're going to be talking Marilyn and Victoria. Who's staying, who's going. In a lot more detail. I'm going to look more at if there's any possible Marilyn footage that we've seen or not seen. In case she stays. We know Victoria stays. What do you think about Maggie? I think she's unfortunately middle of the pack. She's not touched on enough and there's no major preview footage for me to think otherwise. But I think she's not going to get ditched right away. So they destroyed those wedding dresses. I know. Do they know how much a wedding dress costs? Brings a tear to my eye. Do you think Abigail will leave herself? I don't know. There's I wondered because things seem to be going really well with her. Is there a possibility that something happens where she has to leave outside of the show. I don't know. I don't know why they're really not showcasing Abigail at all in the previews. But I'm interested to see whatever the heck it is, because then we'll know. Then we can have that to reference when we head back. And Sarah, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you, Bachelor Fantake and the Fantake fam. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the love. The non-toxic energy. Thank you. Appreciate it for all the super chats and for always being here. So, what's the percentage that Serena C gets a rose outside of a normal rose ceremony, such as group date or one-on-one? There's a small group date chance. We have seen her kiss Matt, but that was on a group date. Because I talked about it in one of the previews. We can see Matt in the same sweater, him sitting down with Bree. And Heather, thank you for... Man, not a question, just want to say you and your channel rock. Thanks for what you do. I need people to talk to about this shiz, and you provide that heart. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for all the people who've super chatted and who've commented. Really just wonderful, positive things. It's a good time to be putting some good vibes out in the world. So thank you for the super chat. Really, really appreciate it. The multiple super chats and for being here tonight. And Jenny as well. Thank you for the super chat. Thoughts about Chris Harrison maybe leaving the franchise? Is this because of him moving to Texas? That's the last time I had heard there were the rumors about him leaving the franchise. And I just don't see it. Not quite yet. I mean, my opinion is that he's going there to be closer to his son, who's gone to college in Texas. I think he's such a big part of the franchise. What I could see, what I would think about if I was Chris Harrison, at least, if I wanted to exit, was to just slow things down. Give over the hosting duties to one person for one of the shows, like maybe Paradise or Bachelorette. Still be the face of The Bachelor. Maybe have someone else do Paradise. And then you can start the transition to a new host, get people used to this other person. And you still collect, your paycheck, you're still the host of The Bachelor. If he wanted to get out. So. And plus, Chris Harrison, he has that fountain of eternal youth. He's got at least another 500 to 600 years of the Bachelor franchise in him. But, alright, we're going to come now to the end of the live stream. Thank you all for coming in, chatting about the show, talking about the episode. Really appreciate it. All the super chats. Stay tuned for the recap tomorrow and the preview breakdown. We got a lot to talk about. Queen Victoria's reign is coming to an end. Also, got a new mouse today. You'll notice no more squeaky mouse for those of you who have been here all the time. It's gone. Just the sound of my dog every once in a while. Thank you all for joining. Have a great night, everybody. Until tomorrow, until the next recap, Bachelor Fantake, out.